Guys, we're going to wrap up the show. We have one last part of the show that we're going to do. And then actually, if you guys want to throw some questions out at the end, I'm glad to answer them. We have one thing that we do we call the mailbag. We invite people on our website to send in their questions, and we're more than happy to answer these questions for people. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw out the mailbag, and we're going to be answering the questions that came in this week. Now, in full disclosure, I have not I've not read any of these questions, and no one's read them to me. So I don't know what these questions are. They're going to come out. I'll give you my first response. Once I see the questions, all I can see is 1, 2, and 3 on my screen. I'll click on them and see what happens. Here's the first question. After the win over the Saints, are you finally convinced that the Chiefs are possibly the greatest team of all time? No, I'm not. I'm not convinced at all, actually. And I know that I'm in the minority in this one. Everyone seems to be like so crazy about the Chiefs. Let me tell you something. If you watch that game at all, if you watch the Chiefs play the Saints, there were plenty of opportunities for the Saints there. They put out a crippled Drew Brees out there, who at one point I think was 7 for 24. It was not the Drew Brees of old. Michael Thomas didn't play. The Saints' best defensive player got thrown out for punching someone in the face, which is always stupid to me in football. The guy's wearing a helmet. What are you doing trying to punch somebody? It was just not a great performance by the Saints. The Saints lost that game. The Chiefs did not win that game. The Chiefs are incredibly vulnerable, and I keep telling people that. If they make it to the playoffs in this state, I mean, they're obviously going to the playoffs, but if they go there in this current condition that they're in, they are incredibly vulnerable to a team like Miami, to a team like the Titans, to a team like the Browns, to even a team like the Steelers, who have not been playing very well right now. The Chiefs are vulnerable. It's going to be a very, very tough road for them if they don't start to fix some of the mistakes that they're making. The Chiefs, to me, are a very good team, but they are not unbeatable, and they are not one of the greatest teams of all time. They won the Super Bowl last year. They got hot at the right time. They won the championship that they deserved. I'm not trying to take anything away from the Chiefs for who they are. What I'm saying is that everybody needs to cool their jets. There is no team right now that's unbeatable, obviously. Look at the records. There are no teams that are unbeatable. There are teams that are vulnerable. There are teams that have gotten away with a lot. Kansas City is lucky to have gotten away with the things that they've done. Pittsburgh is lucky to have gotten away with the things that they've done. The Packers are lucky to, even though they're efficient, are lucky to have gotten away with some of the things that they've done in order to win. The Packers almost lost to Jacksonville. So any given Sunday, a team can beat another team. No team is unbeatable. And no, I'm so sorry to tell you, the Kansas City Chiefs are not an unbeatable team. Each week, we answer all of your mailbag questions. Let's go to our next question right now, which is going to be, recently, Randy Moss made fans go crazy with his claim that he's the greatest wide receiver in NFL history. He said this on the new Terrell Owens podcast and put T.O. second on that list and Jerry Rice third or fourth. Who do you think is the GOAT? Well, first of all, let me tell you, I happened to stumble upon the Terrell Owens, I hope you got your popcorn ready, podcast the other day, and was shockingly surprised that this is a very good podcast. It's very good. I was really surprised. I did not think that T.O. could. Now, T.O. brought in a host that helps him. It was a very good show. He had on a couple guests. I've seen Sterling Sharp. No, I've seen Shannon Sharp on there, and then I saw the one with Randy Moss. To me, I've always said this, and I'll say two things about this topic, and we'll move on. First of all, I've always said this: Randy Moss is the greatest wide receiver I've ever seen in my whole life, and I'm old enough to have seen Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice was a very, very good receiver in a very, very different time. Jerry Rice was uncoverable at some points in a very, very different time. A totally different time. Now, Deion Sanders could shut him down, but there was never anybody that I can recall that could shut down Randy Moss. When Randy Moss wanted to play, when Randy Moss had something to prove, when Randy Moss wanted to be Randy Moss, he was the greatest wide receiver in our generation. And even Jerry Rice proved it because he recently responded to something online. I think he was on Instagram. He made a post that was his statistics against Randy Moss's statistics. Randy Moss only played 14 years. Jerry Rice played 21 years. The statistics were actually, if you bear it down year to year, were actually pretty close to each other. But here's the thing that Jerry Rice did wrong. Jerry Rice actually posted that and said, "You got mossed." Well, I don't know anybody that says you got Jerry Riced. I don't know anybody that says you got riced. No one says that. People do say you got mossed. Jerry and Randy Moss hasn't played football in almost 10 years. So I don't know. The greatest of all time? I also want to say this really quick. We use that term far too much, the GOAT. This guy's the GOAT, that guy's the GOAT, this guy's the GOAT. No, the greatest of all time means the greatest of all time. Patrick Mahomes is not the greatest of all time. He's a very good quarterback. In time, we'll see if he's the greatest of all time. But right now, you cannot say that he's the greatest of all time, along with Peyton Manning, along with Dan Marino, along with all these other guys who are also the greatest of all time. There's only one. There can only be one greatest of all time. We need to retire this GOAT thing and stop using it. We need to take the emoji out of our phone so people will stop putting it on people's Instagram pages and on Instagram posts saying that this guy's the GOAT. There can only be one GOAT. Randy Moss is the guy. All right, last question we're going to go with right now. After what is looking like a complete meltdown, do you think John Gruden gets fired this offseason? I do not think there's a chance in hell that John Gruden gets fired this offseason. John Gruden is really good friends with Mike Davis, who's the son of I got a straight cash homie comment here. Who's the son of Al Davis, very, very tight. They signed him to a 10-year deal. I'm sure there's an out there. I'm sure there's a way out where they don't have to pay him, but I don't think they're going to take it because the Raiders have taken steps forward. Now, this has been a very bad run that we're caught in the middle of for the Raiders, but they've taken steps forward. They've taken steps forward to become a better team. They're far better than they looked last year, and they do have the potential to be better even next year. Now, John Gruden, to me, is an above-average coach. He's not a great coach. There was a moment. He was a moment in time when he was a very, very good coach. But since he came back from the Monday Night Football booth where he was excellent, he's an okay coach. He's a mediocre coach. But he signed to a long-term deal. He is the personality and the engine that drives that franchise right now. They just moved to Las Vegas. They haven't even had a chance to sell a ticket yet because they built that $100 billion stadium and weren't able to use it because of COVID. John Gruden stays. He's part of the marketing machine. He gets at least one more year out there. If he can't turn it around and have a winning season, I think the conversation changes. But he's going to have at least one more year, unlike some of these other NFL coaches. All right. My name is John Tenora, and I, of course, am your host every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the What's on Sports podcast. You can listen to us live on Facebook and on YouTube. And, of course, you can download this show. You can download it, keep it in your pocket, and this little thing they call a mobile phone. Carry it around with you, put the headphones in, but like these fancy headphones like I got, which somebody made fun of. These are great headphones. I don't need your attitude about these. These headphones are awesome. A little wrinkly, a little wrapped up, but they look great. They sound great. Anyway, download us on your favorite podcast application and take us with you. If you want to leave us any comments, go over to whatsonsports.com. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on all of our platforms. Thank you so much. We're out of here.